Yeah, it's funny how we watched like over the last 3 or 4 years, like the pendulum swing on the TikTok banning, and it was like it kind of had gone away until the Palestine conflict happened.
100%.
And then that was the main kind of vehicle for information to get to the kids.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then all of a sudden it had been, now all of a sudden, a lot of people who didn't want it banned before, now it's an issue again. And you know, I think a lot of people I think if you're paying attention, like that's obviously what happened.
Yeah.
But you know.
Well, media is the most powerful medium, and it's something that classically been controlled by a small group of people. So anytime there's a disruption in that, they got to figure out, all right, how do we get our power back? Because now you're going to put a disruption on the timeline of things they want to roll out because of the backblow that they're going to get from the younger generation or just free media, period. So you put out a story, and instead of everybody talking about the story you put out, there's a whole new story on how that's bogus. Right? There's a whole new story with different details that legacy media didn't push, and they like, wait a minute, nobody's believing us right now. So that makes it harder for them to roll out their agendas, especially when you're talking about global politics and the sentiment is around empathy for the Palestinian people, right? It used to be way easier for them to control that narrative. Now they can't, and they can't suppress it and pretend it's not happening. Right? The sentiment of the crowd is very obvious when you go on TikTok that people are empathizing with the Palestinian people and believing that the things that are happening with the murdering of children and innocent women is just evil. There's no political spin you could put on it. So it's interesting to where you even see the things that Donald Trump doing to suppress voices against, you know, Israel and consider that to be anti-Semitism, but even his base don't like that.
Yeah, it's interesting because I saw today, I don't know if you saw this, you might have, you know, somebody who I like grew up not really fucking with is Tucker Carlson.
Yeah.
But Tucker Carlson did an interview with Piers Morgan today.
Yeah.
And I was like, am I in the upside down world where I'm like, all right, Tucker, I see you, bro. Like,
right.
Where he's like, I'm sorry, is there, like, we were supposed to be fighting the idea of being evil. And if you don't think the purposeful killing of women and children and citizens isn't evil, then what are we talking about?
Yeah, I think that you're going to see more of that happen.
Even like Candace Owens.
Yeah.
Like, shout out to Candace. Like, I don't agree with everything Candace Owens says, but like, I've definitely had like a hard shift in terms
100%.
of like, damn, like Candace Owens ain't like as crazy. Like, you know, growing up, like, you know, obviously being like a hardcore Democrat over the years, you know what I'm saying? Like, you always would just be like, yo, Candace Owens she's the boogeyman, you know, or Tucker, or like, but it's like, not everything. I think over the last 8 years, I would kind of say, really since COVID, a lot of shit is in the gray space, man. Like, you can't look at everything as black or white. You can't take everything from each side and write it off fully. Now, the other thing with that is society will try to paint you as all of that or all of this if you don't align with everything each side is trying to feed you, you know?
Well, what you're looking at is different agendas, though. So it's like, it's a very interesting breakdown with this. So you got a part of the MAGA group, and they're not all united. People act like
they're not. They're very
united.
different.
Very divided.
Right.
There are some people who are completely anti-Israel, right? Most of his base is anti-Israel. Most of his base is anti-Zionist, right? So when he does things that are pro-Israel, they don't agree with that, but they take that because they want him to help them on other fronts.
Right.
The America First front, which is hypocritical in a way, right? But when you see somebody like Candace Owens, you see somebody like Tucker Carlson, she got fired, right, by Zionists. So now she start going down this rabbit hole, right? So they talk about being red-pilled, and now I don't know what this is, the Zionist pill, if you will. Right? To where you have these people that say, wait a minute, they were pro-white. They weren't pro-Israel. So now there's this difference of saying that, wait a minute, that base is looking at it from an ethnicity standpoint, then they looking at it from a Christian, saying that we was all together in this MAGA, but is MAGA Christian or not? Because if it were, then that means that we need to move based on Christian values, right? And then you can't stand hypocritically in front of a microphone, right, in front of your base to be pushing pro-Christian values and at the same time be pro-war, right? And wanting to kill women and children, right? And then stand in front of that happily. But you realize is that they might sell Bibles and they may use Christianity
as a vehicle,
but they're using it as a vehicle for manipulation because they know that base wants these conservative values pushed. But do the oligarch and the megalomaniacs actually care about that? And the answer is no. Right? These are Elon Musk is a transhumanist. That's against Christian values. Right? He wants to go to Mars and things of that nature. Do they care about living in harmony with the planet Earth, or do they care about just extraction? And capitalism is against Christian values, right? Especially extreme capitalism in a way that is plagued out in America today. And right now, I believe that we just at this point where capitalism is eroding at the soul of human beings, right? They focusing on wage suppression. Instead of figuring out how do you increase the quality of life for people in America, it's just about how much money are we making. What does that have to do with the fact that most Americans are depressed, overweight, right? Have anxiety, and they have no vision or dream towards the future aspirationally. Like America's losing its capacity to be an inspirational and influential place because we have so much conflict. And so you're going to see that base continue to divide on their talking points because they have different agendas, and now they're starting to crisscross. You feel me? Especially when it's who's running the government becomes. Is it Elon's agenda? Is it Trump's agenda? Who's behind Trump's agenda? I believe.
Is it Mary Madison? Is it?
The first presidency, I think, was a more honest Trump, right? Because I think he was surprised that he even won. Right? But this time, number one, he had 4 years to prepare. Then you have all these allies that he had to take money and promises for, right? So now he has to, fulfill those promises. And Trump likes to be liked, so he's trying to fulfill those promises as much as possible. You feel me? But then a lot of those promises are contradicting to each person that gave him. Is it for the citizens? Is it for the oligarchs? Is it for the people that's pro-oil or electric? Right? Is it for the people that's pro-Palestine or pro-Israel? Freedom of speech or censorship? I think there's a lot of conflict within the mega party itself that eventually is going to cause it to implode, which is why you see people like, what's the one Indian guy that got out of there? Vivek, man. They got him out of there. And I liked
Vivek. Like, I thought Vivek was like, I saw footage of him like being very kind to people on the college campuses who weren't necessarily aligned. And he was
Vivek
actually
played the game.
But like you said, they got him up out of there quick.
Because he forgot that they were white first. And he started talking to white people like he was better than them. And they was like, we rock with you as long as you saying what we want to hear.
Because he had that tweet, that
about the
tweet
visas.
about the H1, the visas and how America's we're raised on different values.
And he reminded people that he reminded white people that they're not the top of the food chain in America. He said, no, there's Asians. They're the most educated group in America, and they have the highest grossing household income. And part of that is based on how they actually live by their family values, right? And so that disruption of that thought process to say that, wait a minute, we got the highest paying jobs, and we run in these tech sectors. These white people have to look at themselves and say, wait a minute, you saying we DEI? Because what he said is, well, if we get rid of DEI, and we operate based on merit, then we're still going to get the jobs because we're the ones educated in these sectors, right? And we're the ones the most qualified. So you don't want to go based on merit if we going toe to toe. And that's when they had to look at themselves and say, get his ass out of here.